Now we look into a smart trade from the community at gt247.com. Mark, this is where you come in full force.
Well, this was an interesting one that came through from one of our vendors. The units I'm in GT Private Broking, we have these kind of ideas and suggestions that come through, the ones we like, that we put through to our clients. Purely a technical sell on ARI.
Purely a technical sell on ARI. You've got to go a little bit further. You can't leave it there, I'm afraid.
Well, there we go. I mean, look, it's a combination of factors. The kind of formation, a breakout of a pennant formation, and also an overbought situation on I think this is the stock or the oscillator, the stochastic. And it also coincided with our kind of broad market view for the week. It was a little bit problematic in terms of selling a bombed out kind of, not a bombed out, but a vulnerable resource share in a vulnerable market. But we kind of liked the technical arguments, and it worked very neatly within 2 or 3 days this week.
Talking African rainbow minerals.
So it's an iron ore business mostly. They've also got coal and a bit of platinum. And it follows Kumba. And it follows in turn the dollar realized price of cargoes of iron ore shipped out of Saldanha, because it has that enormous mine just close to the Sishen mine that Kumba owns. So, I mean, I like it. I think iron ore is a good commodity, but it has been a bit slippery slidey lately, and there are worries about whether China, with its new consumption growth path, isn't going to use so much steel and all that. So that's the backdrop. And then you start getting these wild swings in equity markets, so I don't know. I mean, if you've got a system like this that tells you when you ought to be looking at being long or short, that's a function of how the price is moving and whether it's trading.
But you agree with Mark?
Look, I mean, I'm not interested in those kinds of shorter dated trades because I can't make head or tail of them, and they come and go too fast. And I don't have the interest level to follow the shares on a minute by minute basis. I'm just saying.
What are the benefits, Mark, of following the shares on a minute by minute basis?
Well, look,
can it be significant in one's life?
It can be very significant in one's life. It can take up a lot of one's life as well.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, look, it may be a case of looking from minute to minute. This isn't an algorithm or something that's running. It's an analyst who has a fairly consistent kind of take on the market. What one generally looks for is kind of technical setups as such, which look really good, and for that to coincide with one's market view on a short-term basis. I mean, the action this week has been very, very volatile. Once those two kind of coincide, you've got a very compelling argument towards taking a trade, even if it is only over a short kind of term period.
This is a follow-on question. I've seen in the past guys associated with you came with the idea of being, I think it was Ollie, your colleague, who came here, where you were long Exara, short African rainbow minerals, very similar sort of mix of assets, or maybe it was the other way around. What's your observation about that? Is that another one that's of interest?
Look, on pair trades in general, I quite like trading pair trades, but I look for very, very strong statistical relationships, and I look for mean reversion. I look for those two key factors.
So when the gap widens, and it oughtn't to, then it narrows again.
If there's any kind of mismatch, you've got this thing called stock-specific risk. So you've got to be very aware of what the calendar's doing in the time frame of what's happening, and then you've got specific things that can happen with kind of nuances to the commodity base, for example, with those shares. So the trader's got to be very, very careful and know those things, know how far the shares are trending differently to the way they would normally, and then address the trade then.